For the record, the members of the House of Representatives implicated by the disguised spouses, as well as Congressman Martin Romualdez and Congressman Eric Yap, cited by Mr. Orly Gutesa, were invited to attend this hearing. Incumbent congressmen were invited through a letter dated 12 November 2025 to Speaker Faustino Boji D. III of the House of Representatives. Now, according to Speaker D, the members will not be appearing before the committee today in order to avoid any possible prejudice to the ongoing investigation and eventual findings of the ICI, Independent Commission for Infrastructure, given that the invited members have already submitted themselves to its jurisdiction and proceedings. Mr. Saldico was similarly invited to appear before this committee. However, his lawyer, Attorney Rui Alberto Rondain, replied that Mr. Co is unable to attend, citing that he is still overseas due to medical reasons. Let me state clearly that this committee takes strong exception to the statement made by Attorney Rondain. Specifically, his apprehension, and I quote, "I'm apprehensive that any statement he," referring to Mr. Saldico, "may give before the committee will, at best, preempt any defense he may set up." Our invitation was directed to Mr. Co himself, not to his lawyer. Suffice it to say that Article 1, speaking of jurisdiction, Section 2 of the Rules of the Blue Ribbon clearly states, and I quote, "The filing or pendency of any prosecution or criminal action shall not stop or abate any inquiry to carry out a legislative purpose." Several of the invitees were also sent their excuse letters. Number 1, Jonathan Quirante of Quirante Construction. Excuse, needs to attend to personal operations and project sites affected by Typhoon Tino and needs more time to organize documents. Number 2, Yumir Villanueva of Top Notch Catalyst Builders. Excuse, prior engagement. Number 3, Engineer RJ Dumasig. Excuse, scheduled appearance at the DOJ at 1 p.m. today. The following also sent excuse letters based on alleged medical reasons. Engineer Gerard Opulencia, Regional Director, DPWH NCR. District Engineer Manny Bulusan, District Engineer, South Manila District Engineering Office. Commissioner Mario Lipana. The committee also sought the assistance of the Bureau of Immigration to obtain available information on the following individuals: Mark Bakiran Bunagan, Alan Colesio, John Paul Estrada, Orly Regala Gutesa, and Mark Texay. In the response letter dated 13 November 2025, the Bureau informed the committee that there is no record of departure for Mr. Bunagan, Mr. Gutesa, and Mr. Texay. Meanwhile, Mr. Colesio is confirmed to be in the country, having returned from a brief trip abroad from October 18 to October 24, 2025. In the case of Mr. John Paul Estrada, the reported aide of Mr. Saldico, the BI reported that he left the country on September 2, 2025, bound for Hong Kong, and has not returned to the Philippines to date. We're now coordinating with the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime, PCTC, to coordinate with Interpol to track the movement or movements of Mr. John Paul Estrada, as well as other personalities who are now abroad, whose attendance will be needed by this committee. Lastly, this representation received a copy of an order dated October 24, 2025, penned by Carolina or Judge Carolina C. Ecasiano Sison, Executive Judge of the Manila Regional Trial Court, in relation to the investigation conducted by her office on the authenticity of the notarization of the Sinumpaang Salaysay executed by Mr. Orly Gutesa, allegedly notarized by Attorney Pechi Rose G. Espera. For the record, the committee notes that the notarial monthly report submitted by Attorney Espera covers notarized documents recorded under Notarial Book Number 3, specifically Book Number 3, Document Number 41-173, pages 10 to 36, period September 11 to 30, 2025. It is further noted that these details differ from those appearing in the sinumpang salaysay of Ms. Gutesa, which, on the other hand, indicates the following particulars. Book number 255, page number 51, or document number, sorry, 255, page number 51, book number 8, series of 2005. Furthermore, the order issued by Executive Judge Icasiano Sison looked into consideration the report prepared by Mr. Antonio Magbohos, Executive Officer of the Forensic and Scientific Service, Question Document Division of the NBI. After conducting a comparative examination of the specimen signatures, the NBI concluded that the questioned signature and the standard specimen signatures of Attorney Spera were not written by one and the same person. Since it was found that Attorney Spera has not notarized the sinumpang salaysay, her notarial details, including her signature, contained in the said document is falsified. As such, the order declared that there was no sufficient basis to hold Attorney Spera administratively liable in connection with the notarization of the sinumpang salaysay. With that said, let us start. We will recognize again the members of the committee in the order of their arrival. And the first to arrive is, as usual, Senator Erwin Tulfo. Of course, the Senate President, we are joined by the Senate President to arrive second. Then followed by Senator Ontiveros, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Bam Aquino. So, Senator Tulfo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick statement, Mr. Chair, distinguished members of the committee. The Professor Wina Guerra of UP Center for Integrated and Development Studies in her policy paper, Flood Control Fiasco, the policy reckoning for accountability in the Philippines, revealed that our flood control failures stem not from lack of funds, but from absence of credible science, data, and accountability, and also, of course, corruption. One of her recommendations is the revival of Project NOAA and its return to the Department of Science and Technology. Project NOAA once provided real-time hazards, rainfall, forecast, flood simulation, guided both national agencies and the LGUs. It is for this reason that I urge this committee to recommend the said policy, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before anything else, we also invited, again, former Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo. He has submitted his supplemental affidavit to the Department of Justice, and we want to hear, for the record, his sinumpang salaysay as submitted, or supplemental affidavit. This is supplemental to the September 25 affidavit that he submitted likewise to the Department of Justice, which he also testified before this committee. So, Undersecretary Bernardo, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and the honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to read an opening statement?
Go ahead. How many minutes?
3 minutes lang po.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Salamat po. Dear Senator Lacson and honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, again, I am Roberto R. Bernardo, formerly an Undersecretary for Operations of the Department of Public Works and Highways. Today, I am once more before the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee upon its invitation and consistent with my assurance during my first appearance last September 25, 2025 to fully cooperate in its ongoing investigation. I am here not only out of respect for the invitation of the Honorable Committee, more importantly, I am compelled to come clean because of my fear of God Almighty and my ardent desire for my countrymen to give me a chance to atone for what I have done and failed to do, for which I offer no excuse or justification. Nung ako'y nabanggit sa mga irregularidad na ito, ang una kong naisip ay manahimik tungkol sa nalalaman ko. Haharapin ko na lang ang mga asunto na isasampa sa akin. Ako ay aasa na lamang sa pamamagitan ng aking pananahimik ay makakakuha ako ng proteksyon mula sa makapangyarihan sa politika at maimpluwensyang mga personalidad na silang may pakana o kaya nagbigay daan sa mga irregularidad na ito. Gayunpaman, napagtanto ko na ang isang pagkakamali ay hindi maaaring iwasto ng isa pang pagkakamali. At kung may maisang pamangkaso ay maaaring magtagal ito bago matapos. Sa aking pagkakaalam sa mga nakarang scam, tulad ng ilang kaso ng PDAF, mahigit isang dekada na ang nakalipas, hanggang ngayon ay dinidinig pa. Kawawa ang bayan. Hindi ko matiyak kung ang mga pangunahing may sala sa mga irregularidad na ito ay mapapatawan ng kaukulang parusa sa lalong madaling panahon. Gayunpaman, umaasa ako na sa pamamagitan ng kasulukuyang mga pagdinig ay makakabuo ang ating mga mambabatas ng kaukulang batas na hindi lamang tutugon sa epekto ng mga maanumalyang gawain ito, kundi na rin makakapigil sa pag-ulit nito. The magnitude of the irregularities and how this have gravely affected and will affect our nation and its citizens cannot be overemphasized. I am committed to disclose everything that I know regarding these anomalies, particularly the complicated and ingenious ways by which these were carried out and perpetrated all these years. This, despite the serious threats to my personal safety and that of my family and loved ones. Mula sa aking paninilbihan bilang isang mababang laborer hanggang ako'y naging isang undersecretary, napag-alaman ko na ang profesional na kakayahan at integridad ay maaaring hindi sapat upang matiyak ang tagumpay sa profesional na karera ng isang tao. Nakapaloob sa isang tiwaling sistema kung saan ang isang tao ay pinangakuan ng biyaya o kaya'y pinipilit na lumahok sa mga irregularidad. Ang takot sa maaaring masamang mangyari bunga ng hindi pagsunod o pagnanais na rin sa personal na pakinabang o kaya'y kombinasyon ng dalawang ito ay sumisira sa moral na direksyon ng isang tao. Lalo na kung ang mga dapat na may pangunahing kakayanan na humadlang sa masamang gawain ay siya ring may pakana nito at nagbibigay daan dito. Naniniwala ako na hindi lamang ako ang nakaranas sa sitwasyong ito. Nakikiusap ako sa mga nasa ganitong kalalagayan na magtiwala sa kinauukulan at lumantad na at makipagtulungan sa kasalukuyang investigasyon. In connection with my application for coverage as a state witness under Republic Act No. 6981, I have earlier submitted to the Department of Justice a second supplemental affidavit, further clarifying my previous disclosures on the government flood control and other infrastructure projects subject of the present proceedings. Once again, with the assurance of the Honorable Committee that my rights and benefits under RA 6981 shall be respected, I will be submitting the second supplemental affidavit to the Honorable Committee with the prior authority of the Department of Justice through the Honorable Frederick A. Vida, Acting DOJ Secretary, as set out in an authority to disclose, which I am likewise submitting to the Honorable Committee. Thank you po.
Proceed with your statement.
Second supplemental affidavit. I, Roberto R. Bernardo, Filipino, of legal age and a resident of Panlolo City, Bulacan, under oath, hereby depose and state. I am submitting this second supplemental affidavit consistent with my desire to set forth my knowledge about the irregularities in government flood control and other infrastructure projects, as well as to obtain peace of mind and preserve the truth. Among other factors, the contents of this second supplemental affidavit had to be violated by me by making reference to an assortment of personal notes and records, deep thinking, as well as confirming with persons certain details regarding the time, place, manner, and circumstances under which the events narrated hereunder occurred. Moreover, owing to the passage of time and the fact that I am no longer part of the DPWH following my retirement in August 2025, the process of collecting facts and details had progressed slower than expected, contributing to the delay in the submission of this second supplemental affidavit. Also, I would like to make clear that while the facts narrated below are based on my direct personal knowledge and fortified by official DPWH records, the kickback scheme pertaining to the collection and handoff of the commitments to the relevant public officers occur practically without any paper trail. A statement of facts applicable to all. Over the decades that I worked for the DPWH, it has always been my philosophy to form good working relationships between and among my bosses and or superiors, inferiors and or subordinates, and other colleagues, even without the promise or expectation of a reward or personal advantage. I would rather troubleshoot problems than develop enemies and immediately address all concerns. I would do this so that I can effectively perform my duties and responsibilities under the DPWH. Unfortunately, this professional orientation of mine has forced me to compromising situations that include the matters narrated hereunder. I reiterate my deep remorse and guilt for what I have done, and I am now animated by an honest desire to help rectify the institutional defects in the systems and operations, not only of DPWH, but also other government agencies, and help in developing lasting and meaningful reforms. I can confirm, based on my personal knowledge, that in some form or another, and on various extents, based on current setup, each and every DPWH official, employee from top and down the line is buffeted with various avenues of corrupt acts and practices. This would include high-ranking members of the department, such as secretary, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, regional directors, district engineers, bids and awards committee members, engineers, inspectors, and all the way down to laborers. This is also true for several top officials of other departments and or agencies, such as but not limited to the Department of Finance, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Transportation, Philippine Charity Sweepstakes, Philippine Coconut Authority, etc. Moreover, I can confirm, based on my personal knowledge, that in some form or another, and on various extents, most proponents have their own designated contractors who will take on the projects for the former's benefit and advantage. Sometimes, other proponents would request me to suggest contractors for them who are known to me or referred to me by friends and other personalities. There are situations that national and local elected politicians would request me to source projects for them. If given more time and opportunity to review the records and confirm supporting facts, I may be able to particularize the details of these transactions and dealings. Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. I have a close and friendly relationship with Senator Ramon Bong Revilla, and we go all the way back since the time of Amay Bisaya and Mayor Viseo, who first introduced me to the former legislator while I was still a district engineer in Laguna, sometime in 2005 or 2006. We frequently meet in important social gatherings. Senator Revilla later on became a godparent of two of my daughters, while I became a godparent to one of his children. When Senator Revilla was incarcerated, I visited him several times at the PNP Custodial Center at Camp Crame. Because of our close relationship, Senator Revilla had asked me for assistance on several matters which I can no longer exactly recall at the moment because this happened a long time ago, and I presently don't have records to help me reconstruct the events. Sometime in the third quarter of 2024, Senator Revilla and I met where he asked me for a list of projects for funding, ostensibly to help him in his national campaign. When Senator Revilla asked me about the percentage of the commitment, I suggested either 20 or 25, to which Senator Revilla said 25%. Soon thereafter, also in the third quarter of 2024, I asked then District Engineer Henry Alcantara to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex A. Moreover, still in the third quarter of 2024, I also asked the District Engineer, but later Regional Director for NCR, Engineer Gerard Opalencia, to prepare a list of projects, which he subsequently gave to me. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex B. I had a list of projects totaling 1.5 billion submitted by Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard, consolidated in one sheet of paper, and gave the same to Senator Revilla in the third quarter of 2024. With respect to the projects under the NEP and HGAB, I followed this up with Secretary Manny Bonoan upon request of Senator Revilla, who would also follow this up with Yusek Cathy Cabral. The White House compound is the ancestral home of the Revillas with the large Blue Gate entrance at the time. Sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Engineer Alcantara collected the 25% commitment of about 125 million and informed me that the same was ready for turnover through Engineer Gerard Opalencia. Engineer Gerard Opalencia told me that the 25% commitment was already loaded in my vehicle. After receipt of the 25% commitment, which were packed in 6 cardboard boxes, each containing at least 20 million, and 1 paper bag containing 5 million, I called up Senator Revilla to inform him the same is ready to be turned over to him. Sometime December 2024, probably the Monday after my receipt of the commitment, my driver and I went to the residence of Senator Revilla. Upon reaching the area, I tried calling Senator Revilla, but he was not answering my call, so I waited. After waiting for approximately 1 hour at a nearby gasoline station, we were finally allowed inside the compound by the guard. Once inside, we parked the vehicle, and shortly upon alighting, I saw Senator Revilla at the terrace. I walked over to Senator Revilla for a casual talk. While the boxes were being unloaded, Senator Revilla and I talked for about 20 to 25 minutes. I asked him, Sen, bakit hindi ka nakakampanya? Senator Bong replied, okay naman pare, maganda results ng survey. Relax muna. The personnel of Senator Revilla helped in unloading the boxes. After the delivery of the commitment, I headed back to Manila. Sometime late January or February 2025, in relation to a list of projects submitted by Engineer Gerard Opalencia, Senator Revilla called me to follow up on the status of the commitment. About a week later, sometime February 2025, I informed Senator Revilla that the same was ready for turnover. Before the start of the campaign period for national elective positions, I directed one of my aides to deliver commitment amounting to 250 million to the residence of Senator Revilla at the White House compound, Aguinaldo Highway, Bacoor, Cavite. Senator Nancy Binay. Carlin Yap Villa is the aide of Senator Nancy Binay, who transacted with me regarding the latter's projects and commitment. If I recall correctly, I first met Carlin in the year 2018 during the budget season at the Senate. Eventually, sometime 2019, Yusek Traigib Olivar, whom I knew very well, endorsed Carlin to me. From then on, Carlin would contact me directly to follow up the status of different matters. Sometime fourth quarter in 2022, Carlin, claiming to act on behalf of Senator Binay, asked my help for the transfer of an assistant district engineer in Mindanao to another district, a request which I endorsed to Sec Bunoan. Sometime during the third to fourth quarter of 2022, Carlin requested on behalf of Senator Binay for a list of projects worth around 1.882 billion with 12% commitment. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex C. I got 3% of 1.82 billion. I prepared a list of projects within my area of jurisdiction with the help of DPW's officials, but could not recall at this time exactly who among them gave me the list. But I can recall that it was Engineer Manny Bulusan who coordinated the collection of the commitment. Eventually, during the first quarter of 2023, the commitment was delivered to Carlin for Senator Binay in several tranches in Makati and Quezon City. But I could not recall at this time the details of the deliveries, but I undertake to submit additional information thereon. Sometime last quarter of 2023, Carlin again asked for Senator Binay a list of projects for inclusion and funding under the 2024 GAA, which I provided with the help of Engineer Gerard Apulesio and Engineer Henry Alcantara. The total list of projects initially amounted to 2.5 billion, but which was reduced to 1.672 billion. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex D. Apparently, some individual or group offered Senator Binay a higher amount of commitment of 15% instead of the previous 12%, with a promise that the commitment would be released much earlier. Yusek Traigib learned about the plan to transact with this individual or group, and I was informed by Yusek Traigib that he confronted Carlin and said to her, "Bakit nyo binabawasan ng kay Robert? Siya din naman ang nilalapitan ng mga yan pagka nagkakaproblema." However, sometime later part of December 2023, Carlin called me and requested for a 50 million advance for Senator Binay's use for the holiday season because the individual or group was unable to deliver on their promise, and which I then helped to fix. Thereafter, Carlin told me that Senator Binay was expecting an increase in the commitment from 12 to 15%, which I agreed to fulfill. I did not get any percentages from the aforementioned projects worth 1.672 billion, but I was reimbursed the 50 million which I earlier advanced. I was nurturing goodwill with Senator Binay by fulfilling the commitment. Sometime 2024, Carlin requested me to relate to Sec Bunoan Senator Binay's request for some allocation under the NEP, which I did. Sec Bunoan allocated 500 million for Senator Binay under the NEP for 2025, which I relayed to Carlin. Carlin told me to prepare a list of projects for the 500 million allocation. I then asked a list of projects from Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard worth 500 million, which I then submitted in person with Sec Bunoan, who then told me he will instruct Yusek Cabral to include the same in the NEP. The list of projects was included in the NEP for 2025. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex E. Likewise, sometime in the last quarter of 2024, Carlin for Senator Binay asked for a list of projects to be included in the 2025 GAA. I then directed Engineer Henry and Engineer Gerard Apulesio to prepare a consolidated list of projects. I submitted a list of projects totaling 3 billion to Carlin, but only approximately 2.6 billion was included. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex F. After these projects appeared in the GAA, Engineer Bulusan, Engineer Apulesio, and myself collected, raised, and prepared the 15% commitment, which was all turned over to me. There were difficulties in collecting the commitment, as there were contractors, congressmen who did not give amount considering the issue of for later release projects totaling approximately 80 million more or less, which I had to advance. Despite this total commitment collected and raised for Senator Binay was 15% of 1.2 billion or around 468 million more or less. I earlier mentioned that the 37 million more or less was delivered at Horseshoe Village, Quezon City, which refers to the amount collected by Engineer Henry Alcantara. But upon full recollection, there were two deliveries. The first delivery amounted to 340 million at a house in Horseshoe Village, Quezon City, and the second delivery amounted to at least 200 million at another house, but also in Horseshoe Village, Quezon City. After the second delivery, Carlin told me, "Kinuha na ni Sir, salamat raw. Hindi ka raw kakalimutan sa Makati." The Sir refers to the husband of Senator Binay. I did not get any percentages from the projects worth 3,120 million for NEP and GAA for Senator Binay. Senator Chiz Escudero and Maynard Ngu. I met Maynard Ngu at the Manila City Hall during the term of Mayor Erap, and while I was the city engineer of Manila sometime in 2013. Maynard Ngu is a familiar figure in the social political circles, as he would be handling substantial donations to politicians during election season. including the distribution of mobile phones. During the 2022 national elections, Maynard Ngu approached me and asked for help in raising campaign funds. I and other DPWH officials assisted Maynard Ngu in raising campaign funds. These frequent interactions with Maynard Ngu at the court helped me in building our mutual trust with each other, especially in favor of Senator Escudero, whose interest Maynard Ngu was actively promoting. Maynard Ngu was appointed Special Envoy to China for Trade, Investments, and Tourism in 2023. When Senator Chiz Escudero became Senate President in 2024, Maynard Ngu approached me and asked for a list of projects for Senator Chiz Escudero. Thereafter, sometime in November 2024, I asked Engineer Opolencia to prepare a list of projects for Senator Chiz Escudero following my conversation with Maynard Ngu. Thereafter, Engineer Opolencia submitted to me a list of projects for funding. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex G. For the projects located in Valenzuela, Engineer Opolencia, through District Engineer Ruel Umali, collected the money for the commitment for Senator Chiz Escudero. He delivered the commitment at Diamond Hotel. We saw each other at the Diamond Hotel, and Engineer Opolencia told me, nasa inyo na po, boss. When I asked my driver to confirm, the driver told me, nasa akin na po, okay na po. For the projects located in Marinduque, Engineer Opolencia, through Regional Director Ryan Altea, collected the commitment for Senator Chiz Escudero. He delivered to me the commitment at Diamond Hotel. Engineer Opolencia called me and said, may papadala ako sa inyo ngayon. Sa iyo ngayon, dadali na lang po sa Diamond. Later, the driver told me, nasa akin na po, okay na po. Following a deeper recollection of the facts and checking with public records, I can now confirm that in addition to the Valenzuela and Marinduque projects, Engineer Opolencia also provided the list of projects for Oriental Mindoro and Quezon City. The complete list of projects for Senator Chiz Escudero is worth 1.4 billion with 20% commitment. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex H. Sometime early 2025, I made the first delivery of 160 million for Senator Chiz Escudero at the Cherry Mobile Building at Maynard Ngu in Apacible Street, Manila. Thereafter, early 2025, I made the second delivery of 120 million for Senator Chiz Escudero, also at the Cherry Mobile Building of Maynard Ngu. Senator Jinggoy Estrada. I have known Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada since I met Senator Jinggoy Estrada through the social circles of Senator Bong Revilla. We usually had encounters during social gatherings of people in the movie industry. We developed a close relationship. Sometime in 2010, when I was Assistant Regional Director of DPW's Region 4A, Senator Jinggoy was backing me to become a Regional Director. When I failed to become a Regional Director, I applied for the position of City Engineer, and Senator Jinggoy was one of those who recommended me. When he was incarcerated, I would visit him, but sometimes together with then City Mayor Joseph Erap Estrada. Sometime in 2023, Senator Jinggoy requested Secretary Bunoan through me for projects worth 500 million. Secretary Bunoan agreed to give 450 million for the DPW's NCR building, which Yuse Cabral included in the NEP for 2024, with an 18% commitment for Senator Jinggoy. Senator Jinggoy called me sometime in the third quarter of 2024 and asked me to request the amount of 1 billion from Sec Bunoan. Senator Jinggoy said, tulungan mo na lang ako dyan kasi marami pa akong tutulungan sa eleksyon. I replied, okay na ba ang 25% Sen? Sen Jinggoy responded, okay na ang 25%. I relayed to Sec Bunoan the request of Sen Jinggoy. The former then asked me to prepare a list of projects for the latter. In turn, I asked Engineer Gerard Opolencia for a list of projects. When Engineer Opolencia gave me the list, I gave it to Secretary Bunoan, who told me that he will give the same to Yuse Cabral and that the latter will take care of it. At the moment, I cannot locate the list or a copy thereof. Later on, I saw that some of these projects totaling 500 million and included in the list I gave to Sec Bunoan were listed in the NEP for that year. These projects, as appearing in the NEP, are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex I hereof. Thereafter, Senator Jinggoy called me and asked me what happened to the difference of 500 million. I relayed this to Sec Bunoan. The latter replied that he will prioritize the matter as soon as there is available funding. Subsequently, I found out that the projects totaling 200 million were included in the SGAB for 2025. These projects, as appearing in the SGAB, are listed Annex J hereof. However, Senator Jinggoy called me again for the difference of 300 million to complete the 1 billion project value that was requested. During the BICAM, projects worth 750 million were again included in the projects to eventually form part of the 2025 GAA. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as Annex K. The total budget for the projects which appeared in the 2025 GAA is approximately 1.45 billion, more or less. After Engineer Opolencia collected the 25% commitment, approximately 360 million, and delivered the same to Diamond Hotel in Manila. Thereafter, I tasked my driver to deliver the boxes to Sen. Jinggoy at the Artiaga building in San Juan City. Senator Jinggoy personally confirmed to me his receipt of the commitment and thanked me for the same. During the 2024 budget hearing for 2025 GAA, Engineer Alcantara informed me that Senator Jinggoy gave him funding amounting to 355 million for Bulacan First DEO and 500 million from other districts in Bulacan and requested that he, Engineer Alcantara, prepare lists of projects. The said projects are enumerated in a list here to attach as annexes L and L-1 respectively. Later on, sometime in the first quarter of 2025, Senator Jinggoy asked me to get the 25% commitment for the aforesaid list of projects from Engineer Alcantara. Engineer Alcantara then delivered to me the 25% commitment, approximately 213 million, which I delivered to Senator Jinggoy at the Artiaga building in San Juan City. Senator Grace Poe. Sometime third quarter of 2024, J.Y. De La Rosa, a staff of Senator Grace Poe, requested Sec. Bunoan, through me, if Senator Grace Poe can be accommodated in the DPW's NEP. Sec. Bunoan told me there is a 500 million for Senator Grace Poe and instructed me to ask the Senator for a list of projects. J.Y. De La Rosa told me to coordinate the matter with Mrs. Patron, a contractor. Mrs. Patron told me to prepare the list. Upon my instructions, Engineer Gerard Apollesia submitted a consolidated list of the following projects, 1 in Laguna and 3 in NCR. These projects are indicated in the list here to attach as Annex M. Thereafter, the list of projects was included in the NEP by Sec. Bunoan through Yusek Kati Cabral. Later on, the said projects appeared in the GAA for 2025. There was a 20% commitment collected for Senator Grace Poe. Mrs. Patron, a contractor, collected the commitment for Sen. Grace Poe at Diamond Hotel from one of my aides. Congresswoman Mary Mitzi Mitz Kahayon Uy. There were projects released in Congresswoman Kahayon Uy's congressional district, which I facilitated. I submitted projects being proposed by her to proponents for funding, the details of which I am still verifying and confirming at the moment. Congressman Plerida Robes. There were also projects released in Congresswoman Plerida Robes' congressional district, which I facilitated. I submitted projects being proposed by her to proponents for funding, the details of which I'm still verifying and confirming at the moment. Congressman Zaldico. In addition to my statements in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, I was told by Engineer Alcantara, Congressman Zaldi would from time to time deal also with Engineers Gerard Pacanan, Gerard Apollesia, and Danny Villa. There were times Engineer Gerard Pacanan and Gerard Apollesia would give me certain amounts, supposedly from Congressman Zaldico. Yusek Traigib Olivar of DepEd. In addition to my statements in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, I wish to add that I have known Yusek Traigib as early as 2010 when he was still a staff of Senator Bong Revilla. He is a common figure in budget deliberation hearings and by reason of which I had interacted with him on multiple occasions. Yusek Traigib then worked under the office of Senator Edgardo Angara and then later worked under the office of Senator Sani Angara. When Senator Sani Angara became a chairman of Finance, Yusek Traigib and I would have several interactions as part of our work in budget preparations. When Senator Revilla was incarcerated with Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Yusek Traigib and I would frequently call each other so we can help look after the welfare of concerns of Senator Revilla, whom I visited several times with Senator Jinggoy Estrada while they were in detention. Aside from the details I had earlier mentioned in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, Yusek Traigib and I also had transactions concerning Senator Angara between 2019 and 2024, where Yusek Traigib received deliveries representing 12% of the projects of Senator Sani Angara, while the latter was chairman of Finance. As I previously mentioned in my affidavit dated 25 of September 2025, Yusek Olivar and I discussed the unprogrammed appropriations supposedly for the Office of the Executive Secretary. Thereafter, DPWH received a special allotment release order, which included projects worth 2.85 billion. The contract IDs for the projects worth 2.85 billion covered by the said SARO can be secured from the records of DPW's Regional Office for Region 3 and the First District Engineering Office of Bulacan. Moreover, in the unprogrammed allocation for 2025, there could have been an additional 12 billion more or less funding, which I am verifying and confirming at the moment. DPWH Secretary Mark Villar and Yusek Cabral. I was appointed Assistant Secretary of DPWH by former President Rodrigo Duterte in 2016 during the term of DPWH Secretary Mark Villar. As Assistant Secretary for Operations, I was assigned over the Visayas regions. While I was Assistant Secretary for Operations, I was introduced to Carlo Aguilar, a cousin of Sec. Mark Villar. Yusek Cabral was already the Undersecretary for Planning Service when I became Assistant Secretary. As Undersecretary for Planning Service, Yusek Cabral was working closely with Sec. Mark Villar for the allocation listing and budgeting of all the DPW's infrastructure projects. While I was Assistant Secretary, I was also later designated as Chairman of the Central Bids and Awards Committee, Central BAC. In the later part of 2017, I was promoted to Undersecretary of the DPWH during the incumbency of Senator Mark Villar and took my oath of office as Undersecretary before him. In the first quarter of 2018, I was designated as Undersecretary for Operations for NCR, 4B, and the 3 Visayas regions. Upon my request, I was replaced as Chairman Central BAC sometime in February 2020 because of political intrigues, as I was reportedly siding with then City of Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, who was vocal against then President Rodrigo Duterte. All of this time, the funding of all projects was cleared through Yuse Cabral for approval by Sec Mark Villar. From time to time, Yuse Cabral would ask me to submit detailed list of projects with regards to lump sum fund allocations of DPWH, which list she sometimes would approve herself or forward to Sec Mark Villar for approval. Among others, this included EDSA and other major roads, project allocations, maintenance of creeks and waterways, etc. The commission for these approved projects was 10% and divided as follows: 50% to Carlo Aguilar, presumably for Sec Mark Villar, 25% Yuse Cabral, 25% for myself. Undersecretary Maria Catalina E. Cabral. As a general rule, with very little exceptions, it is Yuse Maria Catalina Cabral, with the imprimatur of Secretary Mark Villar, and later continued by Sec Manny Bunoan, who had control at the DPWH level to remove, include, add, deduct, or modify insertions of items in the NEP for infrastructure or those pertaining to DPWH. Yuse Cabral would tell me that she would communicate and meet legislators to inform them of the amount of their allocations and ask them for titles of projects that they want to include in the DPWH budget. In a matrix of process flow that I have prepared, which I am attaching here to as Annex N, Yuse Cabral has total influence and authority in preparing and finalizing the NEP for infrastructure. On multiple occasions, I personally delivered and also caused to be delivered cash to Yuse Cabral at her house at Tatalon, Quezon City, and other places. DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan. DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan is a long-time DPWH official who has held top positions through different administrations. I look up to Sec Bonoan and consider him as a mentor. I treasure his guidance and friendship over the years. Prior to Sec Bonoan's assumption as Secretary of DPWH, I was the Undersecretary for Operations and Planning for NCR, Visayas, having assumed the said position in 2018. Unlike during the time of Sec Mark Villar, when I was not given much task, even removed as BAC chairman, and had very limited operational functions during the COVID pandemic period, Sec Bonoan entrusted me with more operational functions and let me work more closely with Yuse Cabral. Sometime in 2022, Sec Bonoan directed me to submit a list of projects for possible inclusion in the NEP for fiscal year 2023 worth around 450 million. Without question and delay, I asked Bulacan First DEO for a list of projects for funding. Thereafter, Engineer Alcantara submitted to me a list of projects for funding under the NEP. Those projects are indicated in the list here to attach as Annex O. In compliance with this order, I forwarded the list to Sec Bonoan. He told me that Undersecretary for Planning Maria Catalina Cati Cabral shall facilitate and ensure the inclusion of these projects in the NEP. Engineer Alcantara gave the 10% of the value of the projects. Similarly, in 2023, Sec Bonoan directed me to submit a list of projects for possible inclusion in the NEP for fiscal year 2024 worth around 150 million. Again, without question and delay, I asked Bulacan First DEO for a list of projects for funding. Thereafter, Engineer Alcantara submitted to me a list of projects for funding under the NEP. Those projects are indicated in the list here to attach as Annex P. In compliance with this order, I forwarded the list to Sec Bonoan. In compliance with this order, I forwarded the list to Sec Bonoan. Sec Bonoan said that Yuse Cabral shall again facilitate and ensure the inclusion of these projects in the NEP. Engineer Alcantara gave 15% of the value of the projects. Also in the year 2024, Sec Bonoan also directed me to submit a list of projects for possible inclusion in the NEP for fiscal year 2025 for the amount of 900 million. I asked Bulacan First DEO for a list of projects for funding. Thereafter, Engineer Alcantara submitted to me a list of projects for funding under the NEP. Those projects are indicated in the list here to attach as Annex Q. In compliance with this order, I forwarded the list to Sec Bonoan Sec Bunoan said that Jose Cabral shall again facilitate and ensure the inclusion of these projects in the NEP. Engineer Alcantara gave 20% of the value of the projects. With respect to the commitments collected by Engineer Alcantara narrated above, Secretary Bunoan and I received a percentage. In many instances during budget deliberations, I was tasked by Sec Bunoan to talk to legislators over their funding and other concerns, and to forward these concerns to Jose Cabral for action and resolution. Sec Bunoan and Jose Cabral. Every year, including years 2023, 2024, and 2025, Jose Cati Cabral apportions the budget ceiling for the DPW's allocable NEP among the districts according to the endorsed programs, activities, and projects. PAPs. Although she would make it appear that 100% allocable NEP had been apportioned, Jose Cati Cabral would reserve a substantial percentage of that allocable NEP for her and Sec Bunoan's preferred projects. Sec Manny Bunoan would from time to time ask me to take charge of part of his own reserve allocations. The value of the projects that I handled for Sec Bunoan was at least 5 billion per annum for the years 2023, 2024, and 2025, with an average of 15% commitment. Of this 15% average commitment, Sec Bunoan 75% usually would give. Of this 15% average commitment, Sec Bunoan 75% usually would give me 25% of the commitment, with the rest of the commitment shared between him and Jose Cati Cabral. Jose Cati Cabral herself took charge of her own reserve allocations. Once again, I humbly reserve the right to submit another supplementary affidavit if warranted in the premises. I attest to the truth of the foregoing statements based on my personal knowledge and authentic records. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. The Vice Chairman, Senator Erwin Tulfo, you may reclaim your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay. Aside from the tables attached as annexes, may iba ka pa bang ebidensya na magpapatunay po sa inyong sinumpaang salaysay?
Mr. Chair, I would of course, I may submit additional documents po pagka po na retrieve from the records. Meron po.
All right. Mr. Chair, babalikan ko po si Engineer Bernardo. Ang tanong ko lamang po, at tanong ng mga kababayan natin, napapansin po kasi nila na isa-isa ng mga opisyal, dating opisyal sa DPWH, maging ang ilang mambabatas, ay tumatakbo po sa ibang bansa. How do we stop this flight, Mr. Chair? Kasi baka darating po ang araw, wala na po tayong maimbestigahan, wala na po mapapanagot dahil lahat po sila ay nasa ibayong dagat na. Paano po yun, Mr. Chair? Do we have any plans? Do we have any actions para... I know, Mr. Chair, hindi natin pwedeng pigilan po yan dahil yan po ay karapatan naman nila. Pero dahil may investigasyon po nangyayari, ito po yung accountability, Mr. Chair.
You may address your question to the DOJ representative. I think the Prosecutor General, Richard Padulyon, is here. Kindly
Thank you,
respond.
Mr. Chair. Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I believe that while we want all of these personalities who are involved or mentioned in the investigations to just stay in the country during the course of the investigations, we cannot at this time, Mr. Chair, prevent them from traveling because what we can only issue as far as the Department of Justice is a lookout bulletin. A lookout bulletin operates only to check on the records of the passenger who would want to leave, but it would not prevent them from being able to leave the country. There is no legal impediment for them to leave because it would be violative of their constitutional right. However, if I may be bold enough to suggest, Mr. Chair, in answer to the question of the good senator, yes, there are investigations which are being undertaken at this time, and while I understand that cancellation of passports can only be done if, for example, there are cases which are already filed, and this can only be done through the courts. I believe that representations can probably be made by the investigating bodies with the executive branch, that would be the Department of Foreign Affairs, to possibly hold or possibly cancel passports of those who are undertaking or undergoing investigations, Mr. Chair.
Linawin ko lang, Mr. Chair, parang pwede lang yatang kanselahin ang mga passports sa mga ito kapag sila po'y nakasuhan na. Pero what I'm talking about, yung hindi pa po nakakasuhan. Kasi it is not enough, yung lookout bulletin, wala naman hong saysay yun eh. Kahit na nandoon siya sa lookout bulletin, pwede niya sabihin, wala pa naman ho akong kaso. The only way to stop that person is kung may whole departure order, which we know kung may kaso na. So, ano hong pwede bukod dyan na sinasabi sa Lookout Bulletin? Are you suggesting na the DFA kanselahin ang passport? But can we do that? Wala pa naman po silang kaso and it will violate their constitutional rights.
I understand, Mr. Chair, if I may, sir, answer the question. I agree with you totally that there is no basis to cancel the passports up until the time that there are cases which are filed as against them and there are representations or there's an order issued by the court allowing for the cancellation. But the question earlier was with respect to what can be done at this time while there are no cases which have been filed. The only solution that I can find for this particular predicament, Mr. Chair, is for us to fast-track the filing of the cases or for cases to be fast-tracked so far as investigations are concerned before the Office of the Secretary of Justice and before the Office of the Ombudsman. And then and only then, once these cases are filed in court and warrants are issued, can we move for the cancellation of the passports. In the meantime, the suggestion that I made earlier was just a suggestion, Mr. Chair, if only to address the concern of what can be done in the meantime while there are no cases yet which are filed in court.
Kailan po kayo magpa-file ng mga kaso? Kailan po natin makikita na ang DOJ ay magsasampa na po ng kaso?
Cases are already being investigated right now, Mr. Chair. There are 5 cases for flood control projects, ghost projects, which are undergoing preliminary investigation at the moment. There are several cases also which are undergoing evaluation by the Department of Justice. I believe there are also cases which are also pending before the Office of the Ombudsman, Mr. Chair. We expect to terminate the preliminary investigation of the first 5 cases probably within the first week of December or by the middle of December, sir.
To know kung ito po mga cases that will be filed by the DOJ ay mga officials na po ito ng DPWH, former officials at contractors. Meron po bang kasama mga politiko na rito?
As of this time, Mr. Chair, as far as the first 5 cases which are undergoing investigation, it involves only officials of the DPWH, particularly those in District 1 in Bulacan, sir.
All right. My next question is, Mr. Chair, alam kong sinusundan nyo rin po. At ano na ho nangyari? I don't know if you can answer this, Attorney Fadulyon, kayo po sa DOJ. Nasaan na po yung ating witness na si Ginoong Guteza? Because yung kanya pong testimony ay napakalaki po. Lahat po tayo nagimbal dito. So we want to find out, is he okay? Where is he at? Is he still alive? Is he dead? Ano ho nangyari?
Mr. Chair, Department of Justice would not be in any position to ascertain the whereabouts of Mr. Guteza. As far as we know, he did testify here in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, but the Department of Justice never had any interaction with him after that particular testimony. There was no representation made as to his interest in being covered by the program or being granted any protection. And we know for a fact that the intervention by the Witness Protection Program is something which is done voluntarily by the one who is making the application. Inasmuch as there was no application made, we have not had, since the time of his testimony here before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, any interaction with Mr. Guteza. So we would not be in a position to say where he is right now or what his condition is, sir.
Mr. Chair, may I ask the Secretariat if we sent out a subpoena or invitation to Mr. Guteza? Because I'm concerned po. I mean, he made a lot of revelations here during the last meeting when he was here. So we want to find out at gusto ho natin siyang tanungin, where did you get all this information? Pero tila wala ho siya. Now, did we invite him?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman. We sent an invitation to his known address, no? Nakalagay sa kanyang driver's license sa Taguig. Pero even when the investigation was conducted by the executive judge, wala na po siya doon sa kanyang known address, last known address. So what we did in the Blue Ribbon Committee, we sought the assistance of the Honorable Marcoleta kung sakaling meron siyang contact o may sa darating na panahon magkakaroon siya ng contact ay tulungan niya tayo na malocate at para makapag-testify na muli si Technical Sergeant Guteza. So ang sagot po ni Honorable Marcoleta, wala rin po siyang contact kay Orly Guteza.
Isa pang katanungan dyan, Mr. Chair, at nagtatanong po yung mga kababayan ho natin, ano po ang mangyayari ngayon sa kanyang salaysay? Are we going to submit it? Dahil kung tayo po ay mag-wind down na dito po sa ating investigation, are we going to submit it to ICI, Mr. Chair?
The sinumpang salaysay remains valid as far as the Blue Ribbon Committee is concerned. Ano? Nagkaroon lang naman siya ng problema doon sa kanyang pagkanotaryo. And hindi naman po siya sumipot sa DOJ, sa Ombudsman, even sa ICI. So wala po tayong magagawa doon. But as far as the committee is concerned, pag tayo po ay nag-submit ng ating committee report, yung kanyang sinumpaan sa salaysay, as I mentioned earlier, remains valid kasi yun naman ay sinumpaan niya ng bukod, no? Dito sa harapan ng komite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I now direct my question to Yusek Bernardo. Yusek Bernardo, or Engineer Bernardo. Common practice po ang bentahan ng mga pondo sa lower house. Alam po natin yan. Alam po ninyo yan. Ikaw po ba ay naalok na rin ng pondo for flood control ng mga mambabatas? I know you've been talking about senators, may mga congressman. Pero ikaw po ba ay nabentahan na ng pondo para sa flood control?
Mr. Chair, as far as I can recall, I cannot remember any time na bentahan po ako niyan sapagkat I think the legislators in the lower house have their own way of dealing with projects, especially to the district engineers and contractors.
So, sa district engineer po ang nagkakaroon ng transaction between the lawmaker at saka yung district engineer. Tama po ba ang pagkaintindi ko?
Yes po, Mr. Chair. As far as I know po, puro ganun po.
All right. Walk us through, Engineer Bernardo. Pag nagbaba na po ng pondo ng budget ang isang politiko, congressman man yan, sa district, ano po ang nangyayari? Siya rin po ba, tama po ba na siya rin po ang nagsasabi, nagdidictate, ito ang kontratista na gusto kong panalunin mo? Because siya yung kontratista ang magbibigay ng komisyon kay congressman o sa politiko. Tama po yan. Can you walk us through after na ibaba yung pondo ng mga babatas doon sa distrito? What is happening? And walk us through hanggang sa makuha ng politiko yung kanyang komisyon or kickback.
Mr. Chair, I'm very sorry to be off the rec ano po sa ganyang mga proseso sapagkat ang nagkakausap lang po talaga dyan ay ang mga congressmen or legislators sa lower house saka po district engineer o yung mga contractor. Hindi po ako dun sa kanilang sistema doon kung paano. Ba't naririnig ko pong ganun talaga? Yun po.
Alright, panghuling na katalungan na lang po sa inyo, Yusek Bernardo, bago po ako lumipat dito kay Engineer Alcantara. Nabanggit niyo po ang Office of the Executive Secretary na kasama din po dito sa flood control. Ewan ko bakit to sila may flood control. Ang tanong ko po, sino sa Office of the Executive Secretary ang kausap po ninyo? Can you name names?
Mr. Chair, as I've earlier na sinabi ko po, ay si Trigib Olivar po ang kausap ko. Siya lang po nagsabi sa akin nun.
Pero hindi po siya sa Office of the Executive Secretary, Engineer Bernardo. Siya po, the last na chinek ko po ay nasa Department of Education po siya. Wala po siya sa Office of the Executive Secretary. Bakit po ninyo nabanggit na siya, yun ay para, yung kanyang hinihingi ay para sa Executive Secretary, Engineer Bernardo?
Mr. Chair, yun lamang po ang sinabi niya sa akin. Po akong
Senator Tulfo, bukod kay Yusek Olivar, pag sinabing Office of the Executive Secretary, wala kang nakakausap na naka-assign mismo doon sa office ng Executive Secretary? Wala.
Wala po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, let me direct my question now to Engineer Alcantara. Engineer Alcantara, okay, pagbaba po ng pondo ng politiko sa inyo, ano po nangyayari? Tama po ba? Walk us through with this. Pagbaba ng pondo, sasabihin ng politiko, gusto ko sa contractor na ito ang mapanalunin mo. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ano ho nangyayari? Nagkaroon ho ng bidding, etc. May bidding-biddingan pa kunwari. 3, 4 na maglalaban-laban para kunwari. Pero mananalo at mananalo yung contractor ng politiko. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alright. Ano ho na mangyayari after that? Kailan na po i-execute yung proyekto? Kailan na ang bigaya ng komisyon? Kasi may mga balita po ako nag-a-advance pa ang ilang politiko. Tama po ba yon na humihingi po ng advance ang politiko? Wala pa po yung pondo, laway pa lang ay nagbibigay na ng advance yung kontraktor.
Your Honor, pagdating po dun sa bagay, since sila po yung magkakausap na po, yung contractor and the, hindi po ako knowledgeable kung kailan o magkano yung percent na napag-uusapan po nila, Your Honor.
Pero pagbaba ng pondo, ano ho nangyayari? Pakikwento lang po sa amin hanggang sa ma-execute kung i-execute niya yung proyekto.
Opo, pagbaba po ng pondo, pupunta na po yung mga contractor po sa office. At magko-confirm naman po na yun daw po ay ibinigay sa kanila. So makipag-usap naman po sila doon sa coordinator for the procedure of the bidding. And then ibibid po, i-implement, doon po nangyayari. Pero yung bigayan po nung obligasyon, since sa amin po ang nagpapamigay po talaga, hindi naman po kami. Pagka-congressional allocation po, Your Honor.
Tinatawagan mo ba yung politiko pag sinabi niyang ito yung contractor ko, DE Alcantara o Engineer Alcantara, ito ang panalunin mo? How would you know na yun talaga ang contractor ni congressman o ni senador? Sino?
Nagbibigay lang po ng listahan po do sa binibigay ko lang po sa chief of staff ko. Ito yung designated na gusto nila. Ilan po yun.
Okay. Tama rin po ba na para kunwari mayroon ka talagang bidding, masunod lang, para hindi masilip ng COA, kailangan may sumali na 3 at 4 pa na contractor. Pero knowing in advance, kailangan manalo na yung contractor ng politiko na yon.
Yes, Sir Honor. Yung mga contractor po na designated, they're the one who will talk to the coordinator po ng mga contractors po, Your Honor.
So, yung bidding po na nagaganap ay bidding-biddingan na lang kung tawagin.
Most probably, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Another question po sa kay...
With the permission of Senator
Go ahead.
Tulfo, and just on that point,
Senator Kiko,
sa page 18 kasi nung affidavit ni Ginoong Bernardo, nakalagay dito, number 141. In compliance with his order, I forwarded the list to Sec. Bonoan. He told me that Undersecretary for Planning shall facilitate and ensure the inclusion of these projects in the NEP. So sinama pa lamang sa NEP, tapos 142, Engineer Alcantara gave 10% of the value of the project. Ibig sabihin, wala pa yung proyekto sa baba. Nasa NEP pa lang, may 10% na.
Normally, ganun po, Your Honor, after the listing of the NEP.
Saan galing yung pera?
Sa mga contractor po na gustong mag-take ng risk po.
Yan ang ibig kong sabihin kanina, di ba? May advance na. Kaya yung sinasabi mo na wala kang alam, hindi mo alam, sila nag-uusap, doon pa lang, tama si Senator Pangilinan, may advance na. Sama dito sa statement na binigay na affidavit ni Engineer Bernardo, may advance.
Your Honor, i-differentiate ko lang po if you may. Yung pong binabanggit po ni Senator Pangilinan, yun po yung mga special fund po, hindi po yun yung allocable ng congressman, Your Honor. Doon po sa allocable ng congressman, wala pong ganun. Yun lang pong mga special funds na coming from whether, hindi ko po alam kung whether kay Secretary or kay Yussi Cabral or sa House man po, kung saan po. Dalawa po kasi yan, sir, isang allocable po. Yun po yung fixed allocable na naka-allocate po sa district representative. Yun po yung sinasabi ko, sir, na wala pong advance, wala po kaming knowledge. Yung mga special release po, special request po sa department na bumababa rin po sa NEP, that is not part of the allocable of the district representative. Yun po yung merong ganun po, Your Honor.
All right, quickly na lang. Okay, before I move to Yusek Bisnar ng DPWH. 3 beses ka nabanggit dito sa affidavit ni Engineer Bernardo. Sa line 19, line 21, line 24. Tama po ba ito? Itong sinasabi na third quarter 2024, I asked District Engineer Alcantara to prepare a list. Tapos sa line 21, 1.5 billion submitted by Engineer Alcantara. Tapos dito sa 24, Engineer Alcantara ulit, a 25% commission of about 125 million.
Your Honor, sa pagkakatanda ko po, lahat po ng nire-request po sa akin ni Boss, pinadadala ko naman po. Probably, baka po naman po magtugma doon sa listahan ko, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Let me move now, Mr. Chair, to Yusek Bisnar. Meron pong akong balita na natatanggap na merong move na yung mga dokumento incriminating ranking officials, politiko, minamagic o nawawala sa mga sunog. Tama po ba? Ano na ho nangyari sa investigasyon na ito?
Your Honor, if you're referring po dun sa nasunog sa Bureau of Research and Standards, na-confirm na po doon na wala pong project documents or bidding documents na naapektuhan. Regarding po yung status naman po ng mga documents, sa iba't ibang regional and district offices po ng DPWH. Ginawa po ni Secretary Vince na ang lahat para ma-secure po ang mga ito. Isa po sa naunang memo po niya pag upo po niya noong September ay digitize ang mga documents at ipa-secure sa mga regional and district officials, Your Honor.
Did you take a second look dito sa DPWH Bureau of Research and Standards Building sa NIA Road? Kasi po, sir, totoo ba ang balita na natanggap po sa aking informante na yung DPWH BRS Building na sinasabi nyo na wala mga records, ito po ay dating tanggapan ng ex-wife po ni Engineer Bryce Hernandez na si Engineer Mel Clarice Santo Domingo. Did you look at that angle?
Titingnan po namin,
Titingnan pa
Your
lang po
Honor.
ninyo. Hindi po-
Narinig po namin yung information na
Alright.
yung former wife po ni Engineer Hernandez ay doon po naka-assign
Okay.
bago po siya nag-submit ng resignation. Pero wala pa pong confirmation kung meron po ba siyang hawak na mga documents pertaining po sa mga flood control and other infra projects, Your
Okay,
Honor.
pakitignan lang po, Yusek Bisnar, kasi, well, actually, may mga duda ang ilang mga kababayan natin. I just read this in the newspaper also. Last question na lang po, bilisan na lang po ninyo. Ano po nangyari doon sa tampering sa Baguio City? Yung pinasok po yung opisina ninyo sa Baguio City, destruction of documents sa Baguio City District Engineering Office. Bakit daw po, tinanong nyo na ba yung tao, bakit sinira? Bakit sino ba yung sa dokumento na yan? Opisyal ba yung sa dokumento na yan? Mambabatas na naman ba yan? Did you ask? Ano ho nangyari? Ilang buwan na ho yan? What's your report?
Kukunin ko po yung huling report po doon. Ang nakuha po namin is PNP po ang nag-imbestiga nung alleged tampering. For the meantime po, nirelieve na po si District Engineer Sarate ng Baguio City dahil po doon sa allegation na yun, Your Honor.
Kasi nga po, may tampering. Ibig sabihin, may tinatago, di po ba? Siguro, baka may kumausap po sa kanya. So we really need to look into that, Yusek Bisnar. Ano po, hindi po natin ipalawalang bahala. Kasi marami po nadadamay dito. Siyempre, marami pong gusto magpalusot at ayaw masama rito. So you really need to take a look into that, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
I would need a report from the DPWH. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
We will submit, Your Honor.
The Senate President is recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tama-tama yung nabanggit ni Senator Erwin being the Vice Chairman, yung kangay mga nabanggit. I would just like to manifest and caution the committee na yung mga natatanggap nating impormasyon maayos naman at ito naman yung mga sinumpaang salaysay. Pero there are certain concerns na kailangan we take it as it is. Like for example, pagbanggit ng staff ni ganon, hindi siya, yung staff niya. Diba? For example, yung kay Senator Grace po, staff ni Grace po yung kausap, hindi si Grace po. Okay, and then also, doon sa percentage supposed to be for Senator Mark, sabi presumably for. Hindi rin sinabi sa affidavit na sa kanya, di ba? Okay. Anyway, just the manifestation for the consumption of the committee pag ina-analyze natin itong mga nakukuha natin mga affidavits at saka mga sworn statements. Now, my real question actually was directed to the former hearing we had during the time that Senator Marcoleta was the chairman of the Committee on Blue Ribbon. Naalala ko lang kasi na hiningi natin yung ledger from Mr. and Mrs. Diskaya, the ledger na hawak nila. As a matter of fact, there is a subpoena, duces tecum issued. So, did you submit it already or can we have it?
Your Honor, nakakulong po ako sa detention. Katunayan nga po sa ICI po nung nakaraan ay humingi po kami ng forlaw yata ang tawag doon na mahanap ko po sana yung mga ledger na yon. So, hindi rin po sila gumawa ng sulat sa Senate po, yung ICI. Bali, hindi ko po na-comply po, Your Honor.
HCB's Diskaya, di naman siya naka-confine dito sa atin.
Wala po siyang, Your Honor, wala po siyang idea dun sa mga, po. Kasi ako po ang may katransaction po dun sa ibang politician po.
hindi pa pwedeng sabihin kay Ms. Diskaya kung saan nakalagay. So, pwedeng natin pakuha ngayon para dito pa naman tayo. Meron subpoena doon si Stecom dyan.
Your Honor, wala po siyang idea po dun sa ganung klase ng transaction ko po.
Mr. Chairman, with the permission of the Senate President and the Chairman,
Yes, go ahead,
it
please.
has not, walang kinalaman yung kung alam niya yung transaksyon o hindi. Kung alam mo nasaan yung ledger, sasabihin mo sa kanya, andito yung ledger, pakikuha at ibigay sa akin. Hindi ba? For the record, Mr. President.
Your Honor, kasi nag-transfer po kami nung nag-transfer sa office po namin. So, hindi po nila, kahit ako rin po, Your Honor, hindi ko rin po matansya kung saang bandang particular ng mga lalagyan po namin na ilagay sa dami po ng aming mga documentation.
Yeah, para lang ma-repress yung memo, with the permission of the Senate President, Senator Pangilinan. Joint affidavit yung sinabit nyo noong chairman si Senator Marcoleta, no? Na sinasabi nyo, kayong dalawa nagsasabi, ito ay binibigay namin sa kanila ng cash. Ang bawat transaction ay may karampatang voucher at ledger na nagsasaad ng mga araw kung kailan nila natatanggap. Ano? In fairness to the congressman and in fairness to the committee, kailangan namin ledger because mananatili itong say-so o he says, she says itong inyong salaysay. So kaya nga binigyan namin ng pinadala namin ng subpoena do sa Stecom si Mrs. Sara Diskaya para dalhin niya yung ledger. At inamin nyo na mayroong ledger. It's a matter of record. Public record ito eh. Ngayon sasabihin mo hindi makita yung ledger. Pagka ganyan, baka may mag-move dito, makontempt si Mrs. Diskaya. Magkakasama kayo sa detention center, sa detention cell. Kasi maliwanag, hindi naman ikaw lang nagsabi na may ledger eh. Dalawa kayo. Kasi nga sinumpa ang salaysay ito eh.
Your Honor, ang binasa lang po ng misis ko doon sa affidavit po ng una ay hanggang ano lang po, paragraph 15 lang po. Hanggang doon lang po siya nagbasa kasi doon lang po
okay.
yung...
We will excuse you. Sasamahan ka ng Sergeant at Arms para kunin yung ledger and we will wait for you.
Mr. Chair, if I may add.
Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, yun ang ginawa natin kay Mr. Hernandez. Ipinakita niya na gusto niyang puntahan yung kanyang opisina o kung saan man yung bahay para kunin yung mga dokumento. At si Mr. Diskaya should be able to do the same.
Yeah. Pareho na kayong dalawa, mag-asawa. Pa-escorta namin kayo sa USAA para magtulong kayo hanapin yung ledger. Kasi kayo rin, sa inyo rin nanggaling na mayroong ledger.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I
Senator
may
Pangilinan.
add. Well, Mr. Diskaya, nakakulong na po kayo. Nabanggit na nga po ni Chairman na baka isama na rin po si Mrs. Diskaya. Dahil mukhang nagbibigay ka ng kung ano-anong palusot para hindi mailabas yung ledger. Yun ang dating sa amin sa komite. So sana, kung ayaw ninyong makulong pati si Mrs. Diskaya, yun na ang paraan. Sumunod na lang at ibalik dito yung ledger, kung maaari.
Mr. Chair, with the permission of the Senate President.
Yes,
Yes, I just wanted to find out what happened to the ledger. So I give up on my time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I share the concern of the Senate President na ni-reiterate ni Senator Pangilinan, ni-reiterate din ng Chairman. At ngayon, kaya nila sinabi na i-excuse kayo, Ms. Diskaya, para kunin yung ledger na yan. I just wish to reiterate, Mr. Chair, na sa pagkuha at pagsumite nila ng ledger sa ating komite, kasama po explicitly yung listahan ng mga
Gangster, you know, we do that better than anybody. I bet you got it twisted, you don't know who to trust. So many player hating niggas trying to sound like us. Say they ready for the front, but I don't think they know it. Straight to the depths of hell is where them cowards going. Well, all you still down, nigga, holler when you see me. And let these devils dissolve for the day they finally free me. I got a caravan of niggas every time we ride. Hitting motherfuckers up when we pass by. Until I die, live the life